Over the summer, I got a chance to visit the Minneapolis Bouldering Project, and I have to say it was one of the best gyms I've been to in a very long time. And I just wanted to walk through some of the things that I saw being on site and looking at some of the documentation that's online. So, the Bouldering Project itself is in a building that, I looked online to try to find some information about the past of it, but it's a fairly industrial building. It looks like it's potentially a tilt up concrete panel. Potentially some of it was removed to put in these larger windows. But it's not like a beautiful building. It's got certainly high enough ceilings, but they're not crazy high. It's all bouldering. The bouldering walls are very tall, so it's like the right proportion for a bouldering facility without being huge. There's a brewery off to the side of it. When you see certain things like this is for tensioning slabs on the inside most likely, so there's something going on back there. But the point is that it's not a remarkable building. The entry is actually quite nice. It's been done well, but it's a good example of finding real estate that isn't the most beautiful thing or the most crazy thing. It's a solid building that got turned into a very beautiful climbing gym. So these are pictures from the Bouldering Project's website. When you look at it, this is one of the first boulders you see the sort of big prow. And, one of the things I like about their projects is they build their own walls. And there's a lot of different things you can see across their projects that are similar, different types of surfacing, different things like that we'll talk about. But in this case, you can see the ceiling's been painted white, track lighting throughout it, different sort of air conditioning strategies, and the entry, which also is very nice. This is a super clean shot, like probably, pre-opening or just opening. And it's got a nice look to it. And when you look at it, again, these are pictures from their site, you start to see a couple different things. This is an example of a sort of ruled surface or a warped surface where the four sides of this shape, as it sort of works its way up, is a twisted surface. So it's not flat. You can see that here as well. You can see how this edge is straight. But then by the time you get over here to this right side of it, it's been kicked back. And so this is a twisting surface between what I believe are flatter surfaces, which that's a technique that I've gone to with a lot of projects as well, where mixing in surfaces that have a certain geometry or twist to them between flatter, larger surfaces as a way to sort of create some interest in different ways without having to use, curving surfaces all over the place. And according to the Bouldering Project's website, it's over 20,000 square feet of climbing surface and over 44,000 square feet of building area. And one of the quick, rules of thumb that I use is basically half. So if a building is, say, 40,000 square feet, you might have about 20,000 square feet of climbing in it. And that's so that you don't overpack it. And that's just something that I've noticed over the years developing projects. In this case, when you zoom in, we can also see a bunch of different things happening. There's a nice little back of house area that you can get to, rental shoes right there. There's a couple different things going on in the women's room. There's sort of a wet area, meaning where a bathroom area, water closet area, sort of right when you walk in. And then there's a locker area. So you can take showers, you can go to the sauna, you can get dressed. There's sort of two zones, and it makes sense because most people are going to come in and they need to use the bathroom, drop their stuff off, whatever. Having a couple different types of lockers is nice. But having it separated like this is nice into a wet area and then the sort of front area. One thing I've noticed is that if these are not connected in a very intuitive way, people will use the showers for things you don't want them to use them for. And so, the sequence of going through a bathroom is actually really important. Another thing here, in the layout of the building itself, there's this walkway, this sort of central hallway, and then there's this wall that is blocking the bouldering itself. In different cases, it's got little recesses. This is a sort of seating thing that's been, bowed in, if you will. But it's got these seating things, it's got these benches, and it's got these, these sort of cantilevering little pieces. As you go around, you get into their, training area, the dojo. You've got a 45, a 25, a moon board. This is actually a very nice area. You've got your setters area. You've got the stair going up to their work area, their sort of workspace, and a very small lift. So it's called out as elevator, but in a lot of ways, it's actually technically a lift, meaning it's not the same as a commercial elevator in a big building because it's not going up very far. And so you can often get away with something a lot cheaper. Again, it's a code issue, but you can often get away with that. And a couple different types of bathrooms you can see. So a smaller unisex bathroom, and then a larger unisex bathroom that has this circle in it. And that circle is your 5-foot turning radius. And so some bathrooms need to have that, some bathrooms don't. They still have different requirements. But the point is when you're looking at a plan like this, you can see even in the middle here, some toilet stalls are smaller than others. There's all sorts of different code reasons for that are balancing how space is being used. One of the things that I think they do really well actually is they have those cool boulders, but the kids area was done really well. And there's actually areas. So when the kids come in, everybody I was with, they just wanted to get up and go down the slide. But you can also see that there's a couple different heights here. There's easy ways up. You know, it's very accessible for kids. And then coming down, they really just had a nice time. And this is something that, you know, I know that has just been worked out over the years. And when you walk up to it, there's this nice area right in front for parents to kind of sit at. You know, it'd be nice if everybody was sort of playing together, but you know, if you're going to sit and do whatever, at least it's right there. There's this nice entry through this polycarbonate going into the kids' room, which is pretty cool as well. And that kids' room has its own sort of set of features and like a tunnel and rungs. And you know, the point is that it's not crazy. It's very accessible. It's got, you know, places to store your stuff. It's got some taller walls, but it's got a lot of shorter walls. And I think that, you know, this mix of things is really what makes this kids area so successful. And when you turn away from that, this is what it looks like going the other way. Another thing that I thought was really nice was that the floor itself was also carpet bonded foam. So not only did it have the pads, but it also had carpet bonded foam moving between the pads, which was a nice touch. And it, you know, makes it quite nice to walk around, easy on your climbing shoes, all that kind of stuff. And the walls themselves are, you know, again, it's these walls that are being made by the Bouldering Project crew. And they do get beat up because, you know, we have a lot of, you know, screws going into holds and volumes these days. And so, you know, this facility isn't that old, and you can see how the use of screws is something that does a lot of damage. It flakes the plywood. And it's something that, you know, I was pointing out in some of the World Cup walls, they don't even have T-nuts anymore. They just use screw holes. They just use blank walls and everything gets screwed on because everything ends up getting a screw anyway these days, it seems. And so, you know, it's an interesting idea. Like, do we just bail on T-nuts? Do we, you know, allow for a lot of screw-ins? You build with a more simple surface finish maybe, and just realize that you're going to be refinishing it more frequently. This is an area, you know, looking back towards the front. This is where you've got like a main thoroughfare. You've got these sticks that are kind of cantilevering out. You've got this, you know, it's pushed in actually. So the walkway above, it's not only the perspective, but it actually has been pushed in closer to create like a bow, just letting people into the area. And there's different types of seating. You've got, you know, sort of low classic cubbies, you know, off the floor, which is a nice touch. You've got the seating, or sorry, the hangers here, which is also a nice touch. And then if you want to go climbing, you can duck in sort of between these wooden walls. This is the stair looking back up towards the workspace. Nice flared stair. And this is that lift. You can see it's a lift because it doesn't go all the way up. It's very slow. It's got this little like panel and like access bar. And so this is a way to save quite a bit of money, frankly, when you don't need to have a full-on elevator, but you do want to have a second level or a mezzanine level. Looking into their dojo, which is, you know, sort of I like to think of these days as sort of a CrossFit in a climbing gym. And in this case, you know, they've got a couple different boards, which are big, a moon board and, you know, a big campus board and hang boards. And then to the left, you can see the polycarbonate wall in the upper part that is where the yoga studio is. And so, you know, again, like a pretty, you know, open yoga studio. You can see the ceiling above. They've got some, you know, light fixtures and, you know, it's really a personal preference if you like that or not. But this is the workspace above. So this is the workspace above, and the one thing I would say is that the only thing you really can see from a climbing perspective is this wall up here. And could it have been augmented so that there was a way that the walls allowed for like a deeper view into the facility, because so much of the climbing is actually over here. Maybe that just didn't work. You can see there's all sorts of things going on with the air conditioning system, and in other pictures, you can see that there's like grills in the bottom or slots that have been milled in, different height climbing walls, which I'm always a fan of. So there's a lot of really nice things going on here. The one thing I would say is that, putting a workspace in a climbing gym, the thing that makes it great is typically not the furniture. The furniture might be fine. It's probably not awesome. So the thing that makes it unique is the fact that it's in a climbing gym. And so I always try to leverage that and get the most out of that we can. And so that's again really where, designing the building and the climbing walls at the same time at the beginning is key. So looking back into the facility, so walking towards the front, you can see there's a couple different things going on here. There's this shorter boulder here, here, that, is sort of a slug almost. It rises up, it wraps this column. There's, the air conditioning running around. Everything's just been painted white. It gives it a nice reflective look. All their facilities, they just do a lot of track lighting, which seems to work pretty well. Back at the front of the facility, you've got this nice big roll-up door. You've got these nice little ramps that they've got, which are pretty slick, and the carts, and then the setting going on. And, there's a huge roof sort of around the corner. This is that big prow. One of the things I was noticing is that there's so much padding. The whole floor, that main area, is padded, that I was noticing it's very easy to sort of walk around without realizing that the top edge of the wall, it's not out here, but that you're really underneath the wall almost without realizing it. And so, I think the disadvantage to having like not having actual sort of like definable walkways is that it is really very easy to sort of, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Like I was noticing my kids were just, it was very easy for them to sort of walk around the base of the wall without realizing what was going on above them. Looking back at the front, nice little vestibule and pro shop, the front desk, nice color. And this is looking back down that alley towards the workspace. So this is that main alley. The workspace is sort of up to the left over here. The bathrooms are off to the side. And, these are some of those slots for the air conditioning we were talking about. And this is that main sort of central prow. Just a map of their own facility. This is where you can see that this is the one kids wall, the sort of public kids wall, I guess. They're calling it the birthday room. It was, I think, summer camps maybe. They call this advanced youth. This was a big steep wall. But either way, they've got 1, 2, and 3 sort of areas that work really well. And then the workspace is, up in this general area. And again, it's sort of blocked by the walls. And so, whether or not that would be something that's avoidable, I don't know. But, the facility layout in general, it's just a really nice place to be. And it's a fun place to climb. We were climbing there. It was, there's a lot of space, 20,000 square feet of climbing surface, a lot of different options. The walls are tall. The pads are soft. You can see even just the sort of depressions that, the adults are making into the pads, which is very cool. Again, I think, this is like the sea of pad style. Pads are expensive. There's a lot of different things to consider, but I really do like the style of walls. They're sort of big features, but they do have some real interest. This low roof on the right, this sort of twisting wall on the left. I really, really do like this facility. And then, this is me waiting my turn to climb on like the little thing, or watching one of my little girls as she goes up the little slug wall. So overall, the variety of the facility I thought was really impressive. Some of the keys that I thought were, it was just nice and clean. The ceiling was white. Nothing was crazy, but the block for the bathrooms was done well. There was, the wood finishes that is really a preference, but it was done well. It looks nice. It feels good. The bathrooms were big enough. had a wet area and a dry area. You know, it was all sort of done in a very smart way. And there's always things that could be, you know, leveraged more, like the way the workspace, the relationship of the workspace to the climbing. Like, would there have been some way for that to have been a better view so that like it would be the place to be in the facility? That's always the kind of thing that I'm thinking about with clients, is like, where do you want to be? Like, where is that, like the Titanic, like the ship's prow, like where is the place you want to stand and you can just survey the whole thing and really see it. I always like it when you've got like a bunch of those places, because all of us are different. So my preference might be very different than yours, in the sense that you might be okay being sort of more public and I might want to kind of be off to the side, or like whatever it is, or I'm there for a phone call, or I'm there to talk to someone, or whatever it is. And the same for the climbing walls. You know, there's a lot of variety. I love the fact that they're building them themselves. I think that's fantastic. And it's really cool to watch their facilities evolve over the years. So big shout out to the team at the Bouldering Project, who are continuing to evolve these facilities, building amazing walls. It's really cool to see. You know, keep going. I love it. And I can't wait to see the next one. So if you like this, please like and subscribe. It really helps. And if you want to reach out to me, talk about a project, my contact info is down below, and I'll talk to you soon.